All right, so you have this interact class. So basically, all in all, in short, what I want you to do is that we do not want to, in our page object model files, we don't want to directly use these keywords. Why? Because, for example, before you do the click, maybe you want to wait, right? There is some
Right.
condition that you want to wait for that element to occur, only then you want to click. Then you want to write that logic of wait directly here. Okay, and
Okay.
if this is to be done for multiple elements separately in different page object model files, because eventually in a full-fledged project you have to create these page object model files for every page and everything, and it could be like in at least in 20-30 files, I don't know, depending on how big your application is, but usually 10-20-30 files with lots of methods. So how it makes sense, I mean, what makes sense is that you create a separate file where you create these reusable methods which can do the operations for you, and then you reuse them. So you are kind of centralizing the logic of performing operations on your elements into a central place and extending that functionality to multiple page object model files. Okay, and that's what
Okay.
we should do. So how we do that is, there is no point of recreating or rewriting all of that. What I'm going to do, let's try to do this here perhaps. Okay, so we can try doing this here. What I can do is I can go into my core. Here I have browser manager, and I can copy this file. Can I copy this file? I don't think so. Maybe I create another package here. I say new folder. I say interaction methods or simply interactions. Okay, and I create a file, new file. I'll say interact.java, and I just copy this from here to here. Of course, it would require a lot of changes, which I will have to do, but let's do that. So I'll
Oh,
remove the package. I don't need this. I don't need this. And I also don't need, so here I'm using test context, and this test context is nothing but a class which I have created, which also contains my driver. So it's a composition of a driver, and
uh-huh.
maybe a bit confusing for you to really understand what this is. So we'll not use it at the moment. We'll just create a simple driver. Okay, it's actually nothing but your web driver. Your web driver, and this will be your driver. So this is your actual traditional driver, Selenium driver. Okay,
Right.
and then here, maybe I don't need this at the moment, so I remove it. Now everywhere I'm using context.get driver, context.get driver. So instead of that, I will change this to maybe I will say @data. This @data is coming from the Lombok, and what this do is it's a collection of multiple annotations. So getters, setters, toString, hash, and all those things. It automatically injects all those methods. It automatically injects. Okay, so that's what basically I'm using here. And if I go back here, instead of using context thought something, how can I fix it in a single go is what I'm thinking right now. Uh,
Driver, you can replace driver, otherwise context is driver only, right?
yeah, I can, but I just was thinking, can I just very quickly fix it? Huh? But okay,
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't be able to. It's not that big a problem, so I just
You are
simply.
trying to replace the context with the driver with some other method.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of doing something which may not make sense right now. It's okay. I will simply replace the whole thing. Replace. I want to replace. Sorry, this with a simple plain driver. Oh, sorry, driver. Can I try one? Where it go? Replace. Did it fix my problem? Cannot be resolved. Web driver cannot resolve. Why?
It's a protected is there because of that.
No. Change to driver. So why? Constructor is undefined. Constructor WebDriver wait. I think this has been deprecated. Is it specialization of fluent wait that uses WebDriver? Okay, it is there. Then why? Let me replace all first. We'll see later. Okay, so I have replaced everything. Now to make it work, we'll see. Construction WebDriver wait is defined, undefined. Oh, okay. I think this timeout seconds is not how it accepts now, because I think something recently changed. It accepts duration. Duration. Okay. So if I go back, duration. Where is the duration? This is cucumber. No, I don't want cucumber. Fix. I want something from Selenium itself. Do you see anything with the Selenium here? Oh, I think java.time, not Selenium, sorry. Yeah, this one is duration. Yeah, java.time, fine. So I have a duration, and um, maybe I will have dot of seconds. Timeout seconds is, let's say, 10. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Duration, or maybe I simply say duration. Duration of seconds. Okay, this is cool. So I don't want this thing anymore. Maybe I'll use this here. Can I? Yeah. And this one I say, let's say 10 here. Okay, so WebDriver wait, everywhere is WebDriver wait, right? So I will now replace this. Replace. Ah, sorry. I think it makes sense that I simply copy this and replace this with the whole thing. And I say replace all. Okay, so everything fixed. Okay, yeah. So I have this interact .java file now. Okay,
Okay.
which does certain things for me. I don't need this, and I don't need anything else. Okay, so now if I go to my login page or any of the page which I want to use, okay.
In this wait method, Akash, I have some doubt on it.
Yeah.
Actually, in I observed that sometimes it is still processing. I mean, the page loading is working, and behind that, objects are displaying, right? So at that time, it was trying to click or interact that element when we use wait for visible kind
So
of thing.
yeah, so wait here. I mean, this is something which we need to understand, like how we implement it. There are many ways of doing this. So first of all, you need to create an object of WebDriver wait. Okay. Then
Okay.
you have to provide the condition, like you want it to be clickable, but there can be other conditions. Expected conditions holds the list of all the other ways of
Oh,
how you want to wait for it.
mm,
Visibility of element located, presence of element, presence of all elements located by, invisibility of element located by. So all these things you have to, like, you can use.
okay.
So
Okay.
different things work for different situations. Huh? Right now,
Mm,
the default I have used in this is element to be clickable. But let's say in your application you feel no, my applications are bit, my elements are a bit different and bit tricky. We need to validate more things there.
Okay.
And you can create separate methods, or you can change this based on different places. uh, for get text you can have different kind of conditions. For getting list of web elements you can have different type basically. So for example, here get list of web elements, I am saying visibility of element located. Okay, here I was using element to be clickable.
Right. Okay.
Okay, here I am simply saying the visibility of the element which I am trying to locate is available. Okay, so it depends like what you want to do and how you want to do it. Okay,
Okay.
you
Got it.
also
Yeah.
had some other reusable methods of screenshots taking, window switching, validation of if element is displayed. So this can be directly used. For example, if I go back here, landing page, or which one I can use, let's see. So for example, this one, landing page, I have inventory container and I'm checking this, is product list displayed? Okay, so I'm saying product list is displayed. Now what I can do is, instead of doing that, I can say extends. And what if
Okay.
you want to wait for that element? Right now I'm simply saying is displayed. What if it will take some time for that to come, right? This method will continue to fail sometimes, because if page is not
Right.
preloaded, it will fail. So what I will do is, instead of using this like this here, I can say extends interact. Okay, now all the methods I have here are available for me. So then I will say validate element is displayed, something like this, and it accepts by. Oops, sorry, it accepts by, right? So I go back, I come here, and I say, okay, it accepts by, not the web element, element displayed. Okay, what I can do is, I can see, if you notice, I have the same method doing the same thing but different argument type. This is called as, in Java, called as method overloading. Okay, that means I can use the same method name but the argument type is different. So that if I want to use this for web element, yes. If I want to use it for by, yes, it works for both. So I have created these two separate methods just doing the same thing. Okay,
Okay.
but I don't have it for this one. So that's the reason I'm not able to use this method currently with this, because here I'm using find by, not the by. So what I can do, I can extend this. I will say, however, I am duplicating the code. There is still better ways of doing it, but still I'm, for the sake of time, I will just keep or copy this. I'll say element, and here precondition check null. Okay, I want to have this with the element, right? So element, find element I don't want to do, so I will say element is displayed, element to string, and that's it. Okay, so now I have the method which I can use directly with here. So instead of doing this, just to put this into contrast, I'll keep it like this. I can do validate this one. So I can say validate which one I want to use. It's asking which one I can use. So I can say I'm using web element one, and I pass the product list here. Okay, and that's it. So now this method will automatically take care of my wait. Right now I'm not waiting here. That's something which I don't have it, but then I can have something like this here. So I can say like this kind of thing. So I'll say driver by element located, visibility of element located. So until this is visible, it will wait. Okay, and then do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
same I can try doing in the web element part as well. Okay, element, I'll give it whatever, and then visibility of element. Okay. Okay, so So I mean, they are not perfect methods. So these are just examples, huh? Don't take them as a perfect production ready method which you can directly use, but this gives you enough understanding of how those methods are supposed to be. Okay, so if
Okay.
I go back, I can do this, and I can do this everywhere. I go here and I say extends, and then I say interact, and then I can, instead of doing this, I will say click, or no, set elements. Element, you say by. Okay, it also requires by, but do we have by here? No, I think so. We have click element, we have set element. No, we don't have it, huh? So you get the picture, Satya? So you have to
Yes,
create.
yes. But yeah, yeah.
So you want to create your library such a manner that it supports either by or supports uh,
Element,
elements. Yeah.
yeah.
But still, let me just quickly create this. I don't know if this was going to work or whatever.
Sorry,
Okay,
this web element one, Akash?
nothing. I mean, you can ignore it. Yeah, you can even have do this. This is still okay.
Okay.
Usually when you say until it returns an element, and then you can perform operation on that element. Usually that's how it is. Um,
Uh-huh.
these are not perfect, as I said. As I told you, you have to. You can do it this way basically. So you wait for that element, and then you say element of the element. You already have it. Sometimes it also returns you. Then you can use that, or you can use what you have gotten in the method.
Okay.
Both way works. Okay, so if I go here, now I have that method with me. So instead of saying this, I say set element, web element one, this one. And yeah, that's it. So I don't do this, I do this, because in this method, I have the weight as well covered. So I don't have to write all of that here. I don't
Okay.
write all of that here. By the way, you see a lot of weight here, hard-coded weight. Don't use that. Huh? These are just dummy methods I've created to showcase people how things are moving slowly. Okay, for demonstration purposes. These are not required. These hard weights are not supposed to be there. I added them
Okay.
because when I was demonstrating this framework to someone, I think long back, I wanted to show them like how step by step things are moving, so that there's some delay in the demo. That's the reason I just manually inserted these, but it's not supposed to be there. So never
Okay.
use hard coded weights. Use always these kind of weights.
And we can do the error handling in page objects. I mean, the
Okay,
step definitions.
error handlings usually you don't have to do. In Cucumber, I mean, this is my opinion. Sometimes people use lot of unnecessary error handling and they botch it up. They don't do it correctly. For example, you catch a exception and you don't do anything. You just say exception caught, and when what happens is those messages are lost. And when someone sees the execution results, they don't get to know what exactly happened. So you don't have to worry about exception handling at all. Why? Because Cucumber internally takes care of it. How? When you run a feature file, for example, you run any of the feature file, let's say this one. If the exception is being thrown while this step was being executed, the test case will
Okay.
fail at the same step with the right exception messages, which is going to be thrown. It will tell you everything, and then next test case will execute.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there is
Then fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so usually I don't usually recommend exception handling at all, because exception handling you do when you really want to achieve something by catching that exception. Mostly sometimes, let's say your logic says you want to do something, but if exception is thrown, you want to do something else. Okay, so in
Mm.
that case, usually you may try, and those are like 5-10% cases where you want to do that. Otherwise, if exception is being thrown, you let your steps throw the exception so that it's being caught by Cucumber and shown in the results. But if you catch it and don't do anything, yeah, it's not good. I think I have seen that somewhere in your case also, and maybe I will just open it because we are on that topic. And That's a common pitfall, common mistake which people do. And you also, I think, had done it somewhere. I've seen that. Where was yours? I don't know where you kept it. Where I kept your one. Maybe here. Did you do something here? No, I don't know. But I seen somewhere that you did that. That you caught the exception and then you didn't do anything with it. I don't know where it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, here I think.
Yeah, somewhere here, maybe, yeah. So, I mean, there's absolutely no need to do this. Why? Because here, when this runs and something goes wrong with this step, right? Something goes wrong with this step, all it will show is something about a single message, two, three, 4, 5 words message. And when it is
Right.
generated in the report, no one will understand like what line it was thrown, what was the exact error trace, nothing will be shown because you have caught it
Mm.
and you're not showing it at all. So I would have said, don't do this at all. You don't have to. This kind of logic only needs to be done if you're doing something here and you are anticipating that if this fails, you want to do something else. Let's say you want to go to some other page and do something else, or you want to call or you want to hit a database, or you want to do some Excel, whatever you want to do. Only that those cases it makes sense. Otherwise, no. If you are
Okay.
expecting something, just let it throw. And this once this method is thrown back, the cucumber will catch the exception and will exactly show the same message in your extend report.
Okay.
Okay, so don't.
And in some cases, if there is if one step in step definition, if one step got failed,
Mhm.
that's okay. And if we need to go further steps in that, at
Mm,
that time also it will be fine, right?
so okay, so it will be fine, but that's an anti-pattern. Why? Because if this line fails,
Okay.
why do you want to do this? It won't work. If
Okay.
something is wrong with this step, that means the test case failed. Your test case should be very granular in that nature. If you're doing
Right.
something here, if it's failing, why do you want to go ahead? And let's say you do want to do that, then yes, it makes sense. So
Okay.
only in case where something fails here, but you still want to try something here, yes, then you can use try catch in that way. So your understanding is correct in that way.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
but even then, this example which you have which I was showing, you are saying assert dot fail. So anyway, it's an exception. Assert dot fail in itself throws an exception of a failure. So the next step,
Right.
the moment you say assert dot fail, no, it won't capture it. All the thing it will not capture. Huh? So
Oh,
my suggestion here is, I'm not saying this is entirely stupid idea of catching the exception and all. I'm saying if you're doing it for the first time, if you are a fresher, if you're new here, don't unnecessarily put it because it will create more problems for you. You won't understand where the error originated.
okay.
So my explanation is, don't do this because you are new and you don't know when in what cases you should use it. Huh? You just don't use try catch at all in the beginning. Just keep everything vanilla, straightforward, and then Cucumber will do the things for you. Cucumber will capture those exceptions, show that in the report and everything.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how basically you can use. Where is my framework? Yeah. So yeah. So this is what you should be doing, and you should be maintaining this kind of libraries which people can use.
Okay.
Okay, sometimes people also create a separate Java project containing only these core methods, and then other projects can use them as dependencies. Because if you are a framework maintainer and you have multiple projects, separate teams working on it, you will not have a single project where you can keep these class files, right? So in Java, what you can do is, if you have a file which multiple projects want to use, you create a separate Java library for it. Okay, and then multiple teams can then use that in their POM file. So your project will itself become a project, and then people can use it by putting your dependency in the POM file, and this interact method will be available to everyone.
Okay.
Okay, that can be done. That can be used in a bigger setup where you have a framework and then multiple people want to use it. They all are different team and all
Mm.
those things, huh?
So how can we do that here?
So you have to create a separate project, and that separate project you will have this kind of files which is to be reused, and
Uh-huh.
then you create a separate project from it, and then you build it, then you publish your artifacts in your Nexus repository or a central repository, and then other teams can call your dependency, can put your dependency like this here. So it will be like, okay, once it's done, you will say your company name and then name of your project. So framework.core and then your version. So it is how you maintain, your core
Okay.
frameworks separately.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
I mean, for now it's a bit new for you, so you may not understand what I'm trying to say. But the way
Right. Right.
these libraries are being used, you are also using the same way. Someone on their machine wrote this Lombok code, and this Lombok code was written in Java, right? And they have created these classes, and then you are using those classes, right? Same way
Right.
you can create your project to be reusable as well, and then different
Okay.
projects can put your project dependency like this in their POM file, and then they will have this interact method available. So you centrally control the framework at the single place, and multiple projects using it.
Okay. But we don't have access for that, right? To update the method seeking that.
No, I mean, the teams who are using it, they cannot change anything because you are the controller, right? Can you change anything
Yeah. Yeah.
here? No, right? Same way.
Correct. Correct.
So you can control
Okay.
things basically in that sense. No one can edit it. It just you will say use this, use the user, and they will just be the user of it.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. I think what else I can tell you today. So this is our template. Let's see what else we have. So we have this concept of test context. I'm not sure if you can go towards it today. Let me go to my common page objects here. Okay, or maybe let me show you, where's my step definition files here. Okay, okay, I'll go back here. Let's start using this concept of inject here. Okay, so if I come here, and this is what I was working on, right, originally. Now let's go to the concept of dependency injection. Okay, so
Okay.
if I wanted to use my page object model file, so if I go back here, common page objects, I created this common page objects file here, and I have a step definition file here, and I want to use the common page objects or anything which I want to use, and I want to make sure that the same object is available in multiple step definition files. If I want to make sure of that, so in this case, if you see, test context is nothing but a class which I created here, which is this one, and I want to make sure that this is actually being used, or the same instance of this test context class is being used in hooks as well as step definition files. Okay, let's say this is what I want to do. So what I'll do is I will use this dependency injection concept. Now, in our case, this example which we used, we are not using any Google Juice concept here. We are rather using Cucumber. If you see, we are using Pico container, not Cucumber. Sorry, Pico container is what we are using, right? So when you use Pico container, this inject keyword is not there. Rather, what we have is something called as constructor dependency injection. Okay, in the constructor dependency injection, how you inject is you go here and let's create a class. So I go and create a, let's say, a dummy class, maybe here. Maybe I create a package. I'll call this as a some sort of context, and I say dummy class.java, or maybe let's call this as scenario context. Doesn't harm to give it a good name. And here I say I have a uh, let's say a string variable 1 or a string variable 2, and then I will put @ data on top of it. So I have getter and setters also available. Okay, quick fix data Lombok, fine. Now I go back to my step definition again. This is my step definition file. And what I can do is I can, if I want to inject this, or maybe create another test definition, step definition file. Huh? I want to give you a good example, but let's start with the simpler one. Let's call this as, let me remove this from here. Okay, so what we do is I want to say public, and I want to create a constructor here, public constructor name, and this. And here I say scenario context. I am given as contact. Okay, the name I have to change. Context. Okay, so I say scenario context. Okay, this dot is context, and then here I say okay. So what I'm doing here, since I'm using Pico container, what Pico container will do is automatically it will create the object of this. Okay, and inject the same object in all my step definition files. So if I do this here as well, let's say I have two step definition files here, right? One is that one is this one. If I do the same thing here, and if I say scenario context like this, and I use the right constructor name, of course. Okay, so what I want to show you right now, what I'm telling you right now is the advantage of using Pico container, which is if I am using the constructor of that object and I am using an argument here, scenario context. Okay, now if you notice, I'm not creating this object at all, because when you say in Java, how do you create an object in Java? You use new keyword. You use scenario
Right.
context is equal to new scenario context, right? I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing it here. Right? Same thing. I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing it here. Right?
Right.
But since I'm using Cucumber Pico container automatically finds out what is it I am trying to inject. So I'm saying I'm trying to inject scenario context object. Now what it will do, it will find out where this class is. It will say, okay, I have this class, because of course it knows the path where it's located, because I have imported this that way. I imported this object and the statement is there. So it knows that there's a class available and this class has to be injected. Now before it says is to be injected, it has to be created. So Cucumber Pico container will create this class for me. Okay, it will create the class using new keyword or whatever. It's internal logic, but the object will be created and that object will be available or automatically injected in my step definition file here. Okay, so that's first thing it will do. Second thing is also, since I'm using the same thing here, it will inject exactly the same copy, the same object, the same reference here also. So it will be as if I am working on the same object in different classes. Okay, the challenge now, let me tell you what it solves. If I say like this, and I want to use the same object, let's say I want to use the same object which is there, which is here, I want to use the same here. I cannot. Why? Because if I'm saying scenario context equal to new, the scope of this scenario context is only available within the same step. It's not available anywhere else. So I cannot say I want to use this here also. I cannot say that.
Okay.
Okay, but if I use scenario context as a dependency injection, using dependency injection, the same object is available for me. Okay, why it's needed? Let's say where I can really see the practical use of it. In the case of, let's say, WebDriver. Okay, now you have a WebDriver and you are initializing WebDriver in one class file, right? Where are you initializing WebDriver? In the step def apps, for example. Okay, this is where you are initializing it. Now one step is here and the second step in somewhere in some other labs, some other step definition file. Okay, Now the driver which you have created here may not be available there. Okay, since it's the
Yeah.
same driver is not available here, because here you are creating driver using like this, right? New Chrome driver, for example, or browser manager dot get browser. Okay, so once you get the
Right.
driver here, this driver is not available here. And if you recreate the driver, recreating the object of a driver means a new browser will be opened. Okay, but
Mhm.
what you want is you want to make sure that the same driver object is available in all the step definition files, right? And this kind of thing is useful. This kind of dependency injection is useful. And this is what I have done also here. So when I have test context, what I've done is I have wrapped driver within test context. So in all my
Mhm.
step definition files and everywhere, I am injecting test context, and test context already have my driver. So you see, I have two step definition file. Hooks file is also my step definition file, and step def is also my step definition file. If I go to hooks, I have a injecting context, and then I am creating the object basically. So I'm creating the object where? I'm creating the object here, invoke driver. Okay, the object in a driver object is created, and then it is available everywhere. It is available here for quitting it. Basically, the same driver object is being used here. It is the same driver object is being used for capturing of the screenshots. You see,
Yeah.
context.get driver. Okay, same object I'm using.
Even this will work. Even this will work in parallel execution as well,
Yes,
right?
it will work in parallel also.
Okay.
Okay, traditionally how people manage their driver is they can either make it static, or they can make it static and thread safe, or they put that on create into a base class and inherit all the things with the base class. There are different patterns people use. This is one of the pattern which is more, I don't know what to call it, more
Advanced.
standard, better approach, more modern approach, saves you from lot of problems, etc. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so I can also indirectly inject WebDriver, but then it's because WebDriver is an interface. You cannot inject an interface. So I cannot simply say WebDriver inject. I cannot do that because WebDriver is also in itself is an interface. Pico container cannot directly inject an interface. It has to have an object definition. So that's the reason I have in my test context, I have wrapped this object here within the test context. So now driver is contained within test context, and test context is what I am circulating everywhere. Okay, so
Right.
it is as if I create a quick diagram, maybe uh, diagram.draw.io. If I simply say this, so it will be very similar to saying I have this step def file one, and I have step def file two, multiple files two, and then I have a small test context, and this test context is available everywhere. Basically, the same object here, the same object is here. They are not two different ones. They are exactly the same basically. Okay, so they are exactly the same object. This and this is automatically injected by Cucumber. So within this
Okay.
test context, I have driver also. If test context is same, driver is also the same. In all the step definition file, the same test context containing the same driver is available, automatically injected by Cucumber itself.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the